as promised, book number 27, Thanksgiving on Thursday, of the Magic Treehouse series. Enjoy! Magic Treehouse, number 27, Thanksgiving on Thursday, by Mary Pope Osborne, illustrated by Saul Mercada. Table of Contents. Prologue. Chapter 1. What feast? Chapter 2. Shh. Chapter 3. Wow. Chapter 4. We fish. Chapter 5. Eels and clams. Chapter 6. Good work. Chapter 7. Arm exercises. Chapter 8. The feast. Chapter 9. Good day. And Chapter 10. Thankful. Hope you enjoy. Prologue. One summer day in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania, a mysterious treehouse appeared in the woods. 8-year-old Jack and his 7-year-old sister Annie climbed into the treehouse. They found that it was filled with books. Jack and Annie soon discovered that the treehouse was magic. It could take them to the places in the books. All they had to do was point to a picture and wish to go there. While they were gone, no time at all passes in Frog Creek. Along the way, Jack and Annie discovered that the treehouse belongs to Morgan Le Fay. Morgan is a magical librarian in Camelot, the long-ago kingdom of King Arthur. She travels through time and space, gathering books. Jack and Annie have many exciting adventures, helping Morgan and exploring different times and places. In Magic Treehouse books 25 through 28, we will learn the art of magic. Chapter 1. What feast? Come on, said Annie. She stood in the doorway to Jack's bedroom. Let's check the woods. But it's Thursday, said Jack. We're going to Grandmother's soon. I know, said Annie, but I have a feeling the treehouse might be back. I think Morgan might have sent us a new rhyme. Jack trusted Annie's feelings. Okay, but we'll have to be quick, he said. He threw his notebook and pencil into his backpack. He followed her downstairs. Be back soon, Jack called to her parents. Very soon, their dad said. Don't forget, it's Thursday, said their mom. We're leaving for Grandmother's at 9. I know, said Jack. We'll be back in 10 minutes, said Annie. They hurried out of their house. They ran across their yard and up their street into the Frog Creek woods. Jack and Annie ran through the light and shadow until they stopped under the tallest oak. Yay, said Annie. You were right, said Jack. High in the tree was the magic treehouse. Jack grabbed the rope ladder and started up. Annie was right behind him. They climbed into the treehouse. Sunlight slanted in through the window. Good. Our gifts from our last trips are still here, said Annie. She pointed to the scrolls from Shakespeare's theater and the twig from the gorillas. Proof we found the magic of the theater and magic of animals, said Jack. Look, said Annie. She pointed to a book lying in the dark corner. A piece of paper was sticking out of it. Jack pulled out the paper. It's from Morgan, he said. He read, Dear Jack and Annie, good luck on your third journey to find a special magic. This rhyme will guide you. To find a special magic, when work and toil are done, gather all together, turn 3 worlds into 1. Thank you, Morgan. So who do we gather with? Wondered Jack. Annie held up the book. The painting on the cover showed a basket of corn on a wooden table. The title said, A Feast to Remember. We gather at a feast, she said. She pointed to the cover. I wish we could go there. Hold on, said Jack. What kind of feast? Where? And when? But the wind had started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 2. Shh! Jack opened his eyes. Bright golden sunlight poured into the treehouse. The air felt crisp and cool. Annie was wearing a long dress, a white cap, and an apron. Jack wore a jacket with a frilly collar. He wore short pants, long socks, leather shoes, and a hat. His backpack was now a leather bag. I like your hat, said Annie. It's funny. Yours too, said Jack. You look like a pilgrim, said Annie. So do you, said Jack. Oh, man, I bet we're in the time of the pilgrims. He and Annie scrambled to the window. The treehouse had landed in a tall oak near the edge of a forest. Red and yellow leaves rattled in the cool breeze. Past the forest was a small village, and past the village was the ocean. It looks like where the pilgrims lived, said Jack. We studied it in school. He opened the research book and found a picture of the village by the sea. He read aloud. In 1620, a group of 120 passengers sailed from England to America on a ship called the Mayflower. Many of the people on board wanted freedom of religion. They wanted to worship God in their own way, not the way the King of England made them. Others wanted to find a new life in a new land. Today, we call all the people who sailed on the Mayflower pilgrims. Yes, said Annie. Jack read on. The pilgrims wanted to settle near New York, but a storm blew their ship north. They landed in a bay on the coast of what is now Massachusetts. 6 years before, Captain John Smith had explored the coast. He had named the bay Plymouth. Plymouth, said Annie. That's where the first Thanksgiving was. Oh, man, Jack smiled. So that's the feast. Wow, said Annie. Wow, said Annie. My class put on a play about the first Thanksgiving. Mine too, said Jack. I played Priscilla, said Annie. I played a turkey, said Jack. Now we'll get to meet the real Priscilla, said Annie. And Squanto, and Governor Bradford, and Miles Standish. Come on. She started down the ladder. Wait, what will we say, said Jack. We'll just tell them hi and stuff, said Annie. Are you nuts, said Jack. He put the book into his bag. They won't understand who we are. We need a plan. He slung the bag over his shoulder and hurried down the ladder after Annie. Listen, we need, Jack started. I know a plan, said Annie. But first, let's get closer to the village and just watch. Okay, said Jack, but we can't let anyone see us. We have to be quiet, careful, and quiet. He and Annie started walking through the woods, but they did not walk quietly. The autumn leaves crunched and crackled under their leather shoes. Shh, said Jack. I can't help it, said Annie. You're doing it too. Then we have to stop, said Jack. Let's get behind the tree and watch from there. They crunched over the tree. They crunched over a tree at the edge of the woods. In the distance was a small log houses with steep thatched roofs. Jack pulled out the book. He found a part about the village, and then he pushed his glasses up and read to himself. The pilgrims brought chickens, geese, goats, and sheep from England. They brought seeds to plant, and they knew how to make traps to catch wild animals for food. But they could not have survived without the help of the Wampanoag. Indian named Squanto. Squanto taught them how to grow corn. Hey, you, Annie whispered. Jack looked up. Annie was talking to a shiny yellow dog. The dog was sniffing a tree near them. Don't let him see us, Jack whispered. Why? Said Annie. The dog looked up at them and barked. That's why, said Jack. The skinny dog barked again and again. Two pilgrim men ran from the other side of their houses, and more pilgrims appeared. They all looked in the direction of the barking dog. Oh, no, said Jack. Let's go back. We don't have a plan yet. He packed up his book and started away from the tree. Suddenly, something tightened around his ankle. A tree branch snapped. Ah! Jack shouted as he was jerked up into the air. Chapter 3. Wow! Jack cried Annie. Jack cried Annie. The skinny dog barked and jumped around happily. Jack was hanging a few feet off the ground with a rope around his ankle. His glasses and bag had fallen to the ground. Jack felt the blood rushing to his head. I must have stepped into a hunting trap, he said in a strangled voice. I'll free you, Annie said. She tried to reach the rope, but it was too high. Jack heard several voices over the wild barking dog. A blur of people gathered around him and Annie. Oh, mercy, a woman cried. We have caught a boy, a man said. A dog licked Jack's face. Help, said Jack. A burly man shooed the dog away and then grabbed Jack. Another cut the rope with a knife, and then they gently lowered Jack to the ground. Jack sat in the leaves, feeling dizzy. He took the rope off his foot and rubbed his ankle. Here, said Annie, handing Jack his glasses, hat, and bag. He put them all on and stood up. Now he could see. About 40 or 50 pilgrims, men, women, and lots of children stared at him and Annie. Some of the children were laughing. The girls were dressed like the women. The boys were dressed just like the men. One person, though, looked different from everyone else in the crowd. His skin was brown. A deerskin hung over his shoulder. His black hair was braided and had a feather in it. Is that Squanto? Jack wondered. The Wampanoag Indian who helped out the pilgrims? Two pilgrim men stepped forward. One had a smile on his face. The other was frowning. Good day, the friendly man said. Who art thou? I'm Annie, said Annie. This is my brother Jack, and we come in peace. Welcome to Plymouth Colony, said the man. I am Governor Bradford, and this is Captain Standish. Captain Standish kept frowning. He carried a long gun over his shoulder. Wow, said Annie. Wow, whispered others, as they didn't understand. I've just heard a lot about you, said Annie. She looked around. Is Priscilla here? Shh, whispered Jack. I am Priscilla, said a young woman. She looked about 17 or 18. Her face looked weary and her eyes very sad. Hi, said Annie shyly. I was you, Annie warned Jack. Thou was me? Priscilla asked. She sounded puzzled. Never mind my sister, said Jack. She's nuts. Nuts? Repeated Priscilla. Nuts? Whispered others. Oh, brother, said Jack with a nervous laugh. Oh, brother? Repeated Priscilla. Annie giggled. Never mind, said Jack. That's just how we say things at home. And where's thy home? Captain Standish asked. He didn't sound as friendly as Governor Bradford or Priscilla. We live in a village up north, said Jack. Our parents sent us here, He remembered something from their research book. To learn how to grow corn. But how and when did your family come to America? The captain asked. Jack was worried now that he had started making up a story. He couldn't back out. Luckily, he remembered something from their book. We sailed to America with Captain John Smith, he said, when he was exploring the coast. Annie and Jack were babies then. Ah, indeed, said Captain Bradford. Jack nodded. Indeed, he said. I believe Squanto knew Captain John Smith when he was in Plymouth, said Captain Standish. Perhaps he remembers thee. Everyone in the crowd turned to the man with the braid. Oh, no, thought Jack. He knew Squanto couldn't remember them. These children say they sailed with Captain John Smith, Governor Bradford said to Squanto. Dost thou remember two wee babies named Jack and Annie? Squanto moved closer to Jack and Annie. They looked carefully at their faces. Jack held his breath. His heart pounded. Squanto turned to the governor. Yes, he said quietly, I remember. Tomorrow, Chapter 4. Stay tuned. Have a great day, guys. Bye.